Well, I'm off to the Sunshine State, going to St. Petersburg, Florida, and visit Corinne and Jim Allman.
Hi, Corinne.
Yes.
I'm Ron. How are you?
Nice to meet you. I'm great.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Ron. I'm Jim. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure. I hear there's a lot of stuff going on inside this house right here.
A lot.
Corinne and Jim give me a rundown on all they've accomplished. Then Jim gives me a quick tour before we get started.
Wow, what a view. Look at this. You're sitting right on the water. Now I feel like I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida.
Yeah.
It's obvious the Allmans have finished
Yeah, sort of
almost
draw the
all
line.
their home improvement projects, except the dining room walls. They've decided to try wainscoting, which we'll make from individual strips of paneling.
It'll go right up on the wall like this. The bottom is going to be covered up with the baseboard, and the top with a chair rail.
Step one is to decide just how high we want the chair rail.
This is the actual wainscoting cap or chair rail that we're going to use right here. Now originally these were designed to go right where the chair would hit the wall. So let's just put this about there. Corinne, can you hold this over here? Sure. I also think that visually looks like a good height to me. Let's see what we got here. To the bottom of the chair rail, just about 34 inches. Okay. So I would think this would work in here.
I think it looks great.
Jim measures up 34 inches from the floor and makes marks on both ends of the wall. Then we snap a chalk line to indicate the top edge of our paneling.
Okay, got it on both ends? I pull it out here. There we go.
After that, young David Allman takes over, snapping lines on the rest of the walls.
Wow, well, that's a snap. Look at that.
Corinne uses an electronic stud finder to locate and mark the wall studs. This will be important information when it comes time to nail up the chair rail.
Well, here's our paneling. It's about 1/4 inch thick, about 3.5 inches wide, and it's tongue and groove.
The tongue on one plank slips into the groove on the next.
Now we've made a pattern for this project because we're going to be making repetitive cuts. All the boards on this wall over here are going to be the same length. So all we have to do is take our pattern, lay it on top of a longer piece of wood, and draw a line right here. Now what's important is to always use this same pattern. I know sometimes it's tempting to take the board that we've just cut and use it as a pattern, but if we do that several times, we're introducing sometimes a series of small errors, and the pattern can actually change in size. So make one pattern, use that all the way through the project.
Since we have to cut over 100 boards, we set up a little assembly line.
It's been fun. It's been different. We've never tried the whole home remodeling until now, and there is a feeling of satisfaction.
With the paneling cut to length, we can now begin to attach it to the wall. The trick here is to place the nails where they won't be seen, at the very top of the boards and at the very bottom. Later, the nail heads will be covered by the baseboard and chair rail.
There we go. Okay, now, just give it the trigger.
Now here's a place the pneumatic nail gun really shines. It makes the job easy, and the thin gauge nails quickly pin the paneling in place without splitting the ends. Several of our walls have electrical outlets. After turning off the power and pulling out the receptacle, we mark the position of the box, draw the outline with a combination square, and then Jim cuts the first opening with a jigsaw. Corinne takes over and cuts the second piece of paneling.
Excellent.
Finally, we cut small notches to provide clearance for the receptacle mounting screws, slip the paneling into position, and secure it with nails. Our next obstacle is the corner. The final board on the wall needs to be cut to a different width, and there's an easy technique for this. First, I tape a piece of paneling right on top of the board closest to the wall. I put a second board on top, push it into the corner, and trace the edge onto the board underneath. Jim then cuts along this line, and we end up with a panel exactly the width we need.
Well, our paneling's up. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Now next we'll be putting up our baseboard. Now here we're going to be cutting some angles to get around a few tricky situations.
Using the power miter saw, we'll make a bevel cut on the end of the baseboard. When this cut is placed next to the door casing, it gives a clean, finished look. To give the baseboard a smooth, continuous appearance as it wraps around corners, we'll cut 45-degree miters on adjacent ends. Placed together, they'll form 90-degree angles.
You know, Jim, bring in the timber.
We have one wall that is longer than any single piece of baseboard, so we'll have to join two pieces together to get the length that we need. By cutting opposing 45-degree angles on the ends of two baseboards and overlapping them, the joint, called a scarf joint, becomes almost invisible. Adding a piece of quarter-round molding where the baseboard meets the floor creates a nice detail.
Well, Jim and Corinne did a great job on the baseboard. Now we're down to the last piece of this wainscoting system. This is the chair rail. It has a rabbet cut right here in the edge, which will do two things: conceal the top of these paneling boards and also trap these in place, holding them securely to the wall, because this is going to be nailed directly into the wall studs.
We cut the chair rail using the same techniques we used on the baseboard. Remember how Corinne used the electronic stud finder to locate the studs? This is where those marks come in handy, since we want to nail the chair rail directly into the wall studs.
That turned out really nice.
I think so.
Wow, what a difference.
I love it.
Remember what that room looked like this morning?
Yes.
And look what we were able to do in just one day's time.
Right.
Thanks for having me over.
Well, thanks for
All the
coming.
best to you both, and
Thank you.
good luck with the rest of the projects here in the house.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
You bet.